Ladies and gentlemen, dear music friends, we welcome you to this conference of today dedicated to a topic essential for all artists, the psychology of musicians. To discuss this vast subject, we have the honor of welcoming today Mrs. Liina Leijala, a renowned artist and artistic director of the Wiener Musikakademie, and Mr. Julio Bodo, psychoanalyst from Brazil. Together, they will address fundamental questions related to the mental preparation of artists, stress, management, self-confidence, exams, auditions, and the psychological challenges of an international music career. Ladies and gentlemen, this program is produced in collaboration with the magazine Découverte Mag, a widely circulated Swiss magazine read by hundreds of thousands of people each month. This program is the part of a series of future online live events which you can follow and comment on social medias. This session will focus particularly on the mental aspects of musicians, essential elements for building a balanced artistic career. We hope these discussions will provide inspiration and support to all the students, artists, and music enthusiasts joining us today. Let's give now the floor to our guests, Mrs. Liina Leijala and Julio Bodo. Dear public, we wish you all a wonderful conference. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.
Dear people, how are you doing today? My name is Liina Leijala. I am the artistic director of the Wiener Musikakademie. First and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Perenu for this wonderful introduction. I am so happy to be here again with my great friend Julio Bodo. How are you, Julio? How is everything going?
Everything fine. I'm very happy to be here again with you. We're doing this job with a lot of love for the musicians, and I hope this will be
Absolutely.
amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us again, dear Julio. It is always a pleasure to have you. You are looking fantastic. Nice to have you on this very hot day in Vienna, but as I hear from you in Brazil, it is not so hot.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not very hot. We are well known as a tropical country, but here in Brazil, it's about 15 degrees, rainy, but it's very important to have this kind of weather also, right? But this is a fantastic day to have a conference.
Absolutely. This is the best day to have a conference. So I would like to welcome our audience members. I am understanding that there is somebody from Ukraine and someone else as well. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm very happy to have you. Yes, I didn't hear if somebody said something, but in any case, we are very happy that you are participating in this conference. Today's subject is very simple and to the point. We want to cut the nonsense of talking about this and that, about performance, career, etc. We want to go to a very important point, which is anxiety. Anxiety is something that every musician experiences in their career. Music career is not easy. Music career is super competitive. It is full of criticism that goes to your persona. It is full of competitions, it is full of judgment, it is full of also rejections. And today we want to tackle this a little bit in the frame of the time that we have. So maybe let us start by asking Mr. Bodo a simple question. Mr. Bodo, what do you think? What is anxiety? What is that? You
How,
are a psychoanalyst. What is anxiety? We all talk about
how,
that. What does it mean?
I like the way you posed the question, a very simple question for a psychoanalyst that would take 5 hours to explain. But I will try to do, as the philosopher I love very much, Nietzsche, I will try to say in 10 lines what people would do in a whole book. But anxiety comes from different ways, and actually everyone experiences anxiety in life, but in different manners. We can say that Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, he said that we have the helplessness structural idea. We are mammals, we were born and thrown into a world, and in this world we need another person, which is our mother, to live, right? We wouldn't survive without a mother. So since we need the other people to survive, we internalize this kind of anxiety, and maybe we have this anxiety when we get to be adolescents and adults. Sometimes we think, my God, I need my mother back. You know, we are in such a traumatic experience or in such a difficult place, and we feel that anxiety coming from within. And also, we have fears. We have fears. We talk about the judgment, the inner critic is very big. We can say we internalize all these aspects. We were talking here about the teachers, the very strict teachers. We internalize that judgment. So we do it with ourselves. Of course, we have fear of the freedom sometimes. To have success is dreadful, you know. How can I deal with this success? Am I good enough? And am I comparing myself to the others? So there are many ways we can experience the anxiety. And the anxiety can be negative, of course, because it can prevent you from doing something, but at a certain point can be used at your favor. The fear can be used at your favor, right? You fear going on stage, but you can try to use the sublimation of all your feelings and bring some kind of aspect that would be bring you the idea that you can do it. You know, I'm good enough. I practiced enough. I will not judge myself as much as I'm trying to do, as much as I internalized. So there are many ways we can experience the anxiety, and perhaps we can go through some of them. But the main important question is, anxiety is always negative. It depends of the economic status of it, how much it takes or takes control of my actions, right?
Exactly. Thank you so much, dear Julio. So I want to address something very important. I'm a cellist myself, and I have seen a lot of things during my career. Of course, now I'm very much into managing different projects, and but I also have had a performance career which still goes on. Um, what I see is that in classical music scene, the anxiety is related very much. Let's go to the core issue. It is related very much on the survival of a musician. How do I survive this music life? So people are graduating from universities, and after that, there are very few real jobs. We're talking about orchestral jobs, we are talking about soloists and, performing career, having an agent, and etc. It is very few, but at the same time, there is a mass of people who want to pursue this career. Now, Why do I want to address this subject is because I see always around me now at the age of 42, I still know people at my age, they are still anxious about the future because this is not a given thing. You're not going to have some stability as you would maybe have perhaps in some other career paths. Classical musicians, they are so trained to have that competitiveness even when they're very small. They're 5 years old or they're 6 years old or they're 16 and 21 and they're competing all the time. So we are trained for that. At the same time, we are in general, I don't want to generalize, but it is a given fact, classical musicians are sensitive people. So I would like to ask you, Julia, this. Why do you think, as a psychoanalyst, why do you think that classical musicians or musicians in general, they're particularly vulnerable to anxiety? I see that as a fantastic gift. It is a talent that comes with two sides. The card has two sides. How do you see that, Julia?
I see your point. I see that the musicians have vocation. Can a classical musician live without music? So we have this persona which is created, the musician that must be perfect, otherwise you will be judged by you, yourself, and by the other people. It's very difficult to be in front of hundreds of people to be playing the art that you have studied the whole life to do. So at the same point that you organize yourself and you prepare yourself to be a musician and to be in front of the people, maybe you internalize that figure of the other judging you. So when you look into the abyss looks back, right? So you're looking into internal judgment. Somehow it can happen, and then it comes back to you as an anxiety. So for a classical musician specifically, and for all the other musicians, all traditional musicians, we need to follow like the as we said, the tradition. We need to be competing not only with the others, and this is the main point. We are not competing with others. We are competing with our inner self, right? We create perhaps an idealization of a perfect level that I have to reach. And during all my career, my teachers will be encouraging me or not, because some people see this as an encouragement. Some people will take it as a judgment, and this is natural. It depends on the student, depends the way of the teacher. If he's too strict, it can generate a self inner critic, which is very, very hard. It's a very hard level you have to reach. If you want to play Chopin live, you have to study many years of your life. If you want to sing live, you have to study many years of your life. So what happens is perhaps there is the fear of no existence anymore. you know it doesn't matter how old you are, but aspects. And what I recommend to the musicians is, seems very simple, easier said than done, but don't compare yourself to the others. Compare yourself to yourself in the past. So this is a way of containing, perhaps. I don't like this word because we don't contain our energy or our feelings. They are always inside and willing to go out as an act, right? So we have to deal with that idea. As you said, musicians are sensitive. We do the sublimation of our feelings, even the rage. We don't like to feel angry or rage, but we can put them into music and make it acceptable for
That can
society.
be fantastic. I have
Yeah.
to point out something, anger and rage, I'm happy to discuss that because, all these human feelings, the whole dimension of what we feel from love to tenderness to anger, rage, jealousy, etc. These are human feelings that are also manifesting in the music. So Now, maybe my question is this: we, the musicians, we are dealing with those feelings every day. We are playing pieces that were composed by other musicians. They were also human beings, and they also experienced all these feelings. But so many people, I have seen this so many times, incredibly intelligent, talented people just don't want to pursue or continue classical music career because of that anxiety. And now I would like to go to a point that is very important for all of us. Um, if you have any advices, I want to be very concrete here. You, as a psychoanalyst, what would you say to a person who is ruining their career because they're so nervous before going on stage, which is part of this career? We have to perform, we have to deliver, we have to deliver a message. What about if the person is going to drop the bow just because they're so scared, so anxious, or they're so anxious that they think, I will drop this whole career at home. I don't want to do this anymore. It is
Yeah.
creating too much anxiousness. And at the same time, that anxiousness is not coming out of being a coward. It is coming out of being very talented, very sensitive, the most beautiful thing, in my opinion, in life. What do you say to this person?
I would say look for a psychoanalyst, but the one that is not gonna suggest you anything. Oh my God, but I asked you a suggestion for the people. We are all here waiting for this suggestion. But what I would say is that I like that phrase. I cannot teach anyone anything, I can only make them think. But the best suggestion is look inside, then try to identify where this anxiety comes from, because generally it's about an experience. It's like what we say, what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. What happens in childhood doesn't stay in childhood because it's part of you. It's always there in that dark room, always saying something to you. That's how the point of life that we learn how to live. We are shown to the world. We get to know the world by our parents. And if something happens in your childhood, perhaps is the way you're gonna internalize the experience and live the same. So if you fear going on stage, try to identify where does this fear come from. Is this fear something like death? I will die. I will cease to exist if I go on stage, or I fear the judgment so hard that I can't go in front of people. Or am I good enough to do it? Will people still love me if I go on stage and make a mistake? Will I myself love myself if I go on stage and make a mistake? Life is a hard test, but when you talk about tests, if you fail a test, we can do again next year, right? We tend to think that life is not like this, but life is a series of tests that we have been through. We are gonna get the judgment from the others, but look inside, try to give yourself some safe space to understand. If you really want to be a musician, how would you feel 10 years from now if you decide to quit? Can you imagine how big the frustration would be? So think about it. And what is this judgment? Is this coming from the other people? Is this a fear of annihilation? I won't exist anymore if I go there. Myself that protects me from reality will be totally hurt. Try to identify this. Look for a psychoanalyst, a psychologist, and try to think uh, know yourself. This is the best advice I can give. Because generally the experiences are introjected and repeat all along the life, and we don't even know what we're doing. It's very automatic, you know.
Yeah, about this fear, I think many of our fears are very irrational. The more intelligent the person is, the more there is the element of irrational things. And the more there is the dimension of thinking that also goes to minus, as well as it goes to the plus. So positive feelings with very talented people also has the dimension of going very much to the dark side of life. Um, I would like to ask you this also. What I have observed is that in classical music there is a huge competition, and I do not only mean by competition, having the concrete competition that we all go through when we are young. I also mean auditions. I also mean, performances, the criticism that comes after those performances, and it can define your future. It can drop you out, or it can give you other opportunities. Um, what I have seen is that sometimes this general judgment of someone who is performing, it might be horrendous. It might be going to the persona very deeply, and it might make that person feel like, I can't deal with this. It is too harsh. And at the same time, that exact person, we have so many examples of music competitions where that exact person that was sort of crucified in a competition situation becomes the most alternative, well known, loved personality in music. Now, what do you think about that, dear Julia? What do you think about that? How would you talk to a client or a person who is expressing this? Let's say somebody has just performed and they got criticized on the ground, and they still know that within themselves there is something absolutely fabulous, maybe for more marginal percent of people, but they know it, but they're about to quit. What do you say?
I will give suggestion. Think about a friend that is in the same situation, and what would you say to him? Perhaps we judge if um, we can say talk about another person. Perhaps we can see the reality better because we are not involved in the other people's feelings. I'm sure that we would say to a friend musician who is very talented and who participated in a contest, who is not the first position, but uh, carry on. You know, this is, as I said, frustration of not doing what you do is very. Perhaps people complain a lot. I see the patient saying, "Oh, I should have done that." I wouldn't regret that much. So people complain more or feel more frustration about things they didn't do. So you have to learn that the judgment will come as a musician from everywhere. People that understand music, of course, in this case of a contest specialist, but people who don't understand music, that listen to music only for pleasure, you have to deal with the criticism and understand that this is not you, right? You know what you're doing, you have been practicing for so long, you understand music. You have to understand that your voice is the most important. Maybe you fail a contest. If there is this word, I don't like this word failure because I have seen many cases of people that were like denied a position and then they became really famous, right? So ask yourself this question: what is to be real good? Expressing yourself through a language. Music is a language, is fantastic. Not everyone in the world has this ability of playing music. Of course, it's a lot of work, it's not only ability. But think about what you can do and do what is possible. Perhaps this is the greatest message we can give. There are some things in life you can deal with, and some things in life that don't depend on you. What depends on you is improving yourself technically, expressively, saying, and doing your best. You'll be a better musician in 1 year, and then you move on. You keep on doing what you love. Do it with love. Express your anger, your emotions, your fears. make them sublime through music. You can do it. But you're responsible for what you say, not for what the other people listen, right? And it's not because you're not the first time, not the first position in a contest that you're not value, don't worth, you don't have this ability of making music. So don't stop. If this is inside of you, you will regret. I'm sure that you will regret if you stop. And compare yourself to yourself. As I said, easier said than done because you're in a contest. You have to be the number one, right? But what is to be the number one? Delivering a performance which is totally connected body, mind, technical skills, feelings, so people will perceive it. And this is what you can do. The other people's judgment is not at your control, right?
But that's something that I have seen a lot as well. People get very burnt out and they feel like there are no tools how to deal with this. Either I just quit the whole thing or I keep going. What would you say to a person, very short answer, who says, I am burnt out, I cannot continue? What to do?
Yeah. Burnout is a very extreme condition. Perhaps it's yourself trying to say something and you don't listen to it. I can do everything, I can take everything. I'm okay, it doesn't matter if I have to work from Monday to Monday. We are all humans and there is a certain limit of exhaustion and is attributed to work. But it's very hard to talk about this condition because as musicians, generally, we are very obstinate people. We want to reach perfection, and perhaps we don't see the time passing by when we are working on it. Maybe this is the most interesting way of talking about this. But what I recommend is give yourself some time, look inside. For example, I'm here to talk to many people from different countries. Of course, it causes certain anxiety. I'm a psychoanalyst. I'm gonna talk. I need to make a language which is better for the musicians, not the technical language. So try to take a deep breath, hold the breath, and let it go. Everything, every kind of exercise that you can find that can make you look inside, and perhaps you have to have the ability of being in public and being alone at the same time. How do I do that? Forget about the audience. Who is the specialist? For example, in the on the piano, on the cello, Lina is the specialist, not the audience. It sounds a little arrogant, but that's not the idea. The idea, I'm here, I'm prepared, I know what I'm doing, I will do my best, and forget about everyone. I'm here to deliver my connection, body, mind, and music, express myself on the language that I love. Good. Of course, the daily basis routine, kids, family, traditions, everything, traditions in music, everything is very hard to take.
So
But
sorry to interrupt you.
whenever you,
S-
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt you. I think
hmm
people are very keen on knowing what are like the very practical ways to deal with such situation, let's say the burnout or the anxiety. Julio, do you recommend, I have heard this so many times, do you recommend people to do sports or yoga or something like that? What do you think about that? Physical exhaustion compared with this very abstract thinking, playing an instrument, it's very abstract process. Does it help if we physically exhaust ourselves and feel the body again? You were talking about breathing. What is your comment on that?
yeah, I will go back to the idea of rage, fury, and all the feelings that human beings have. Whatever you don't put out somehow is internalizing and is getting bigger like a balloon, right? So whatever you can do, like yoga is fantastic. Every physical exercise that you have pleasure doing, try to find out a hobby, something. Because music is not a hobby for you, right? Music is thought to be a hobby by people that don't know what you're doing, right? It's not easy to simply go there and play the cello. Totally not a hobby. Find yourself a hobby If you like to run, to play soccer, it doesn't matter the sport you like. Find something that you put out all this tension, and perhaps, if possible, give yourself some time, just stay at home doing nothing. Permit yourself, allow yourself to do nothing. Doing nothing is very important because most of the people are not doing nothing. They are doing nothing physically, but their minds are doing planning the week and everything they have to do in their routine. Of course, they can't stop, but at least 30 minutes a day, 1 hour a day, that will be necessary. Think about it.
So what I'm aiming here is actually this. Everything that is more concrete. So just to rephrase all of this is that, making music is a very abstract process. It is an intellectual, emotionally engaging, emotionally intellectual process. And, dealing with that every day, all the day, it is very consuming. And how to ground yourself back to be back to the real life. Um, I just want to point out something that I myself have seen that it is very beneficial to do so-called normal things like cooking or going for a walk with my dog. Uh, People are doing yoga, they are going running, etc., because it grounds you very much. That's what I think as a musician about this. Of course, everyone deals with
Fantastic.
stress in different ways. Everyone deals with it in different ways. But what I also know is that the more creative mind, the bigger the problems are. So still, I think that these very human activities that are grounding you and even kind of scheduling you can make a big difference. We are running out of
Yes.
time. I would like to ask you the final question before our audience members might have some other questions. Uh, Julio, very important. I think it is always an important question for a lot of people, and they might not want to ask that. So I'm going to ask this. When should someone seek for professional help? What are the symptoms? What is the situation that, let's say, a classical musician should seek professional help? What is your answer to that?
My answer is very simple right now, because as I said, every experience you're having is internalizing. Are you finding a way to let it go? Let it go, in a soft way. For example, Lina likes to cook. If she cooks as a thing that brings pleasure, only fun, it's okay. But if she is transporting the obsession of being perfect from the cello to cooking, this is not okay. And sometimes we do it. But I would recommend
I
psychoanalysis
am,
for
of course.
musicians. Yeah,
Of
just
course, I
as an
am.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the main point is look for a psychoanalyst. I think psychoanalysis is the best. I'm a suspect person. I'm a psychoanalyst, but the best one for the musicians, sensitive people that are very creative and can give names to emotions. So this is very important. I think is recommended for everyone from the beginning of adolescence forever, right? We are always dealing with the existential issues, and therapy is for everyone. There is no side effects for therapy, and you're not crazy because you're looking for someone of mental health. That's the
But
contrary.
being
You
being
have to deal
but
with reality.
dear Julio, I think being crazy is the biggest gift in life. That's what I think. Julio,
The
could you
biggest
could you
geniuses
please
are crazy.
craziness, I have to tell you, I have never met a crazy person in my entire life. The day that I meet crazy person, I will be extremely privileged and happy. Julio, one last question, very concrete question for the audience and people to understand. Could you just tell us all what is the difference between psychoanalysis, psychiatrist, and psychoanalysis? If you could tell us about this, what does it mean if somebody is doing psychoanalysis? What is that?
The difference is when you have to see a doctor because you have a big problem and you need medication. Of course, I'm simplifying this. You have to take medications for a condition that you have. That's the psychiatrist. We have the psychologists that study different theories, and the
Mhm.
psychoanalysts are the ones that are the deep psychology, deep unconscious mind. It means that there is a dark place inside our minds ruling our attitudes. Sometimes we act very automatic because we internalize this way of acting. So psychoanalysis is more recommended, in my opinion. All right. Of course, everyone will deal with different kinds of therapy, but also the psychologists have the psychodynamic, which is exactly the same of psychoanalysis. So we work with different theories, but as I said, deep into the cause of the problem, not the problem itself. Like you have a problem, condition, you have to take medication to deal with that condition. Psychiatrist. When you want to discover the cause of your suffering, internal, how you internalize this root of all suffering and go deep into yourself, you go to a psychoanalyst.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, I think at this point, if anyone has a question, we would be very glad to try to answer that.
Hello.
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 I, I would like to ask a question about anxiety. Do you think the more anxiety before playing, before performing, have a classical musician and singer or other genres as well?
Anxiety, as I said, as we said here, is a condition of mankind. Perhaps for a classical musician, this would be strike harder because you have to play, for example, Beethoven, which is actually traditional, and you have to play Beethoven as perfect as you can. Some other musicians will have more space to improvise, perhaps. But in your case, if you allow me to tell your case, you're a bandura player, amazing instrument. But you're not carrying only a bandura. You're carrying the history of people from your country. So this is very hard. It's not very easy to simply go play your bandura in front of the Ukrainians and improvise, right? So there are different kinds of ways to things, and of course all the musicians face it depends on economic aspects, economic how much of pressure there is inside of you, and the conflict that we have in our psyche is like the judge is there listening to us. I need to be perfect. I need to play for my country with all my love, with all expression that is possible, because this represents a flag, not only an instrument. So you have a difficult mission. Have you felt this in this aspect? It causes more anxiety when you have to play for Ukrainians.
Yes, exactly.
I might want to thank you so much for the question and welcome. Very happy to have you here. Very nice to have you. It's a great question. You know what? I think anxiety is a thing that is within all the people, really. It is not only the classical musician's problem. Um, how I have experienced that is that there are many friends who are in economics, they are in film industry, they are lawyers, they are musicians, they are staying at home mothers, they are anything at all. I think humankind in general at this stage, at this point, also perhaps in the political environment, is just super anxious. I think it's a very human feeling and it's so understandable. And here of course, because this conversation happens in the frames of the Wiener Musikakademie, so we are like very focused on the classical musicians, but I actually think that anyone I know right now is in a way or another anxious. It's a very important thematic that we all humans, we are experiencing that and we are tackling that. Thank you so much. This is a very important question. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much. If you want to ask another question, we'll be here. Yeah.
We are here exactly for you. That's why we are here.
I have a question uh,
Okay,
about.
nice.
I noticed that when I was performing in front of a big audience, let's say a big number of people,
Hmm.
I feel inspired. I feel like the crowd is like it's just a crowd. I don't see faces, and I don't see far. so also it's
Okay,
like it's a crowd. So it's like a mass of energy that I'm interacting with. But when I
okay.
go in front of a small audience, which is now more my case, more like in chamber rooms, in some very cozy, close ambience. There are like starting from 10 to 30 people to maybe 40, 50 people. That's more difficult. I have more anxiety because I see faces and somehow I
Hmm.
expect some reaction from people, which I can control. I cannot control because like you never know what's on the face of a person, right? And what's inside. So the face of a person doesn't express exactly what is inside. So, and I get not frustrated, I get fear of judgment or a fear of that I will not be accepted, like my creativity or my expression will not be accepted. So I'm trying to
Hmm.
fight it, but are there any advices on how to set your mind before this performance or how to work maybe step by step on this? Um, yeah, so that's the field.
That, that's a fantastic question. What is your name again?
Maria,
Maria,
Maria Rizzo.
hi. I'm Lina. Very nice to meet you.
Hello.
Welcome. So happy to have you. I will start here and then I will give the floor, the online floor to Julia. You know what? That's a very interesting question, actually, because I have experienced the same thing. If there are thousands of people, I don't care. And that carelessness is somehow a great asset. And suddenly, if there is a room with just a couple of people, I feel they're too close to me and their faces are right here. So I have an, unverbalized communication with them. You know what, Maria? I think myself that the only way actually is to get used to it. This sounds very brutal, having breathing exercises, having all these tools to tackle that. Maybe Julio
Yeah,
has a secret recipe for this, but myself, I feel like this. The recipe is the more you perform,
just
the
go
less
there.
you have fear. And also something that is so human, I want to give you as an older colleague of yours, I just
Yeah,
want to say that don't be afraid to be afraid. Like when that comes to you that you are afraid, tell yourself, you know what? I am so bloody afraid, and that's okay. I'm afraid. I'm a human being. I'm feeling things. I'm sensitive. That's a great talent. You have a beautiful talent that makes you afraid. You are alive. Let it come to you. And you know what? Step by step, it's going to be reduced. It will get less and less.
yes, you're right.
I
And
am.
maybe when you accept that, you feel more relaxed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, we're talking about a very abstract thing. I cannot tell you like, okay,
Yeah,
when I accept that I'm going to have this fear and I accept it, I'm going to be just completely fine. Like, yeah, great, let's go. No, it's not like that
Oh,
either. But I think definitely it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a lifelong journey. And some of the
Yeah.
greatest musicians, they were afraid until the end of their life. So every single person is different. But I have noticed for myself that when I don't try to avoid it, let's put it this way, when I don't try to avoid this feeling like I should not be afraid, then it is easier. I accept, oh my God, I feel horrible. I feel I want to maybe vomit. I'm so nervous. And that acceptance with the time brings you more confidence, actually. That is my experience on this subject. Just accept that you're afraid, accept that there is this anxiety. And you're definitely not alone. I'm with you in that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Raise the hand. Raise your hand if you want to be the black sheep of family. Nobody wants,
I
right?
am
So
I am that
perhaps
one.
what if something happens, you said something really important, Maria. What is familiar to you, perhaps? It's very subjective, but I want to try to show that it's an example that can happen. What is not familiar to you, we look at the crowd and you don't see faces. You see the crowd, a safe space on which you can perform. That goes really well. But when you see familiar faces, you learn from childhood that you have to honor your family, or perhaps these people you wanna are the people you wanna be important to, right? These are my students. I'm the teacher. I have this position of a subject that knows what I'm doing, right? So perhaps this is what I would recommend you is that I'm very shy, and that when I started teaching, yeah, 20 years ago, I started teaching. So I used to
Sorry.
have exercise for me, which is like this. I play the teacher. I'm not the teacher exactly. I think myself as a child who is playing with the other kids, and I'm the teacher. I'm gonna teach right now. So I have this safe space and space to be creative, right? No matter if it's my sister, the oldest sister that I admire very much, I want her respect, but I'm kidding. I'm playing. And this is the ability we have to develop of supporting being alone in the presence of the others. When it's familiar, it's much more difficult for everyone. It's totally natural, yeah. But you don't. It's something that doesn't prevent you from playing and doing your best. You're just more like worried about the reaction, right?
Absolutely. And I would like to
Yeah.
say, this is so
Like
important
also,
question. Yeah, sorry. Go on, Mari.
who am I?
Sorry?
I'm sorry. It's like when I'm there, not only the judgment. It's like who am I to be there and be like in front of everybody performing? But then like there comes the value. Yes, I was studying for that. I was working for that hard. So yeah, maybe I have the right. But thank you for the answer. It's great.
Yeah.
You I tell you something. You definitely have the right. You know what? This question is also, you're touching a point that is very important, because in our dark moments in the night when we're alone, we say, what is my place on earth? Am I valuable? Am I needed here? And actually, I will come to a very important realization, and that is that this solitude of accepting that the only person, I don't want to sound macabre here, I don't want to sound too dark, but the only person who is going to really define that is you, Maria. It's you yourself. If you know, when you know that your message has to be delivered, you know what? You have all the potential, the possibilities on earth, and nobody is going to take that away from you. And that is this dual residence of being a performer, because we are criticized by the others, but we know within ourselves my message has to be put in the lake or the sea, and someone has to find it. And you have to believe in that, because nobody knows better than you. Only you know. I believe in that. Only you know what you can do, and you are going to show it to everyone. When you know that, everyone else is going to follow. So you kind of educate the others to come along.
I agree. Great message, huh? And as a very, very old man and psychoanalyst, take care you're driving. I don't let my patients
Exactly.
drive and talk to
I'm
me,
also I'm worried of
please.
Maria. Exactly.
But
Maria, stay safe.
yeah,
Fantastic. So I think
yeah,
our time is up now. I want to thank you so much, dear Julia, my dear friend. I want to thank our wonderful ladies for these questions. I always want to see
Thank
you
you.
again. Yes, fantastic to have you. And I want to thank Mr. Perenud so much for organizing all of this. And I just want to inform you that we're going to keep going. We're going to have more and more events like this. And we always want to listen to you. What kind of questions you have? What do you think is important to talk about? And we are going to talk exactly about that. So please follow us on Facebook and also our website. We always publicize there what is going to happen next. And we have a great project with Mr. Bodo and Julio. Thank you so much from my heart again for being here, being such a good friend. It was wonderful again, and I will see you in July again. And I wish you all a very nice day, very nice night, wherever you are. And I hope that you are not too hot. I know, Julia, you are fine, but we here in European
yeah.
context, it's it's quite extreme.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you again very soon. In July, we're gonna talk again. I think the participants, they
Exactly.
are amazing musicians. We are very happy.
Yes,
Mr. Boris and especially you, Lina. We are doing this with a lot of love for all the musicians that we love and
absolutely.
respect all over the world. Thank you so much.